Good morning. I'm Gianni the Greek coming to you live straight from Las Vegas. It's Thursday, June the 13th. Got a busy day. I know there's a lot of day games, small board, but a lot going on early. So I'm going to get this out to you as soon as possible. I'm also taping two UFC shows over at UFC Apex later today. So very busy day. Want to take a second and thank each and every one of you for all the well wishes, for all the comments. I greatly appreciate it, guys. I took the time to read each and every one. You made my night. And again, I greatly appreciate it. All the likes, all the retweets that you guys do, all the sharing. I couldn't be more grateful. That's why I share as much actionable information and education as I possibly can so that you can get to where you want to be on your sports betting journey a lot faster than I got there. With that said, we're coming off a night where we split. Now, I look over the last 3 days. I tell you when I win. I tell you when I lose. And we have been getting crushed of late, putting us at negative overall for 2024. With that said, over the last 3 days, we're now down 19 units and at a minus 19% ROI. I think it was in like the 20s yesterday. So we probably broke even or won a little bit yesterday overall. Again, I'm up on the accounts. So some of the tennis probably did well. But more importantly, we got to just take and look long term where we sit. And as I look, last 365, still sitting at the same place, up about 110 units overall, got a 1.5% ROI, on about 3,300 bets. So the long term, you see, it doesn't get affected much by the short term. Once you have a big enough sample size, the short terms, it's hard to hurt you. That's why I say we can't forget about the money we won in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22. That money just doesn't disappear. That profit just doesn't disappear. We have that. We have that. So I can't determine when you're going to jump on board, how long you're going to go. But I know anyone that's been with me since we started this journey is up money. And anyone that's been with me the last 365 is definitely up money, because that's the goal. If your goal's aligned with mine, turning profit long term, that's exactly what you're going to do, and I will not disappoint you. We just got to bet as I'm doing this. It's Argentina. Argentina soccer. I can't believe this just came in. We're going live. Let me pull this up. Argentina. It's Sarmiento and Estudiantes de La Plata. Estudiantes de La Plata. We're taking Sarmiento. Sarmiento. Where you at, Sarmiento? Oh, there we go. There we go. Plus a half at minus 110. All right, all right. Boom. I just got it at 110. I got to send that out. Sorry, guys. We are live trading on the live floor. We will pick this up right after I send this out. Forgive me. You just never know when this is coming. Like I said, this isn't a scripted show. I'm trading live like I do every morning. And if things come in, we got to fire. We got to fire. In fact, I got to send this out to subscribers as well. So I will repeat that again. It's Argentina. There's only one league playing today in Argentina, so it won't be difficult to find. It's Sarmiento, Sarmiento, plus a half a goal, minus 115, plus a half a goal, minus 115. If you can only find plus 0.25, you want to get plus 125 or better. If you only can find plus 0.25, get 1 plus 25 or better. But it was easy to find a half a goal up to minus 115. That was simple. So let's get that out there. And then I'll bet it for myself as well. I got to get these guys down first before I can give it to subscribers, but then I'll bet it for myself. So I let you guys bet it before I bet it. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. 8037 Estudiantes plus a half a goal. Actually, yeah, it's the Sarmiento plus half a goal against Estudiantes. against Estudiantes. It gets a little confusing, this soccer, so many leagues. So please forgive me. I try to take my time and do it correctly. But you got to remember, this is also time-sensitive information. So at times, there will be errors. As I explained in past ones, the bots make errors every single day because someone's trying to get it to us as quickly as possible. And then I get a correction, and all I could do a lot of times is just pay the VIG to get on or off the game. And that's just part of doing business. When you bet volume, and more importantly, you're dealing with wise guys who have access to time-sensitive information, you know, you try to move it as quickly as possible, but there will be mistakes. I can't believe. Tell me that's not another one coming through. I'm like, did you guys call it the most opportune time? Actually, this ain't the steam room. We're going to, I believe, cancel for this week because of Father's Day. I wanted to do it on Sunday. All right, again, forgive me. I just don't want to stop this and restart it, guys. Again, this isn't a scripted show, so forgive me. Now let me bet it real quick for myself. I had already pulled it up. Sarmiento plus a half. Oh, minus 116 now. See, for myself, I got an even worse number, but that's okay. That's okay. Let's get back to work. Where were we? All right. We're going over long-term results. Long-term, we're where we should be. We're positive. We're always top 1, 2, or 3 in the last 365. And we just continue to grind. So let me get you some baseball real quickly. I don't have anything in NHL tonight. Boston's up 3-0 in the series. We have a 5% play on the Celtics to win that series. We could just kick our feet up, wait for that 5% to enter our sports betting accounts. Now, let me get you some baseball. Actually, there was also a WNBA play. I didn't use it for subscribers. This is one of the guys that I share with that does WNBA. They bet 612 Dallas plus 6.5. Again, I had no opinion on that game. I don't do much WNBA handicapping myself, but when I looked at the matchup, it didn't jump out at me. So I just pass on those. Again, I piggyback these guys blindly historically because I've turned a profit with them long term. But I also notice how they're doing in the short term. And a lot of times, if they're not running hot, I'm going to be more selective as well. And that's like I tell you guys, you're in charge of your own bankroll. If I'm running cold and you become more selective, you're going to save some money. That's where you are in control of your own trading and investments. The only thing I urge is the exact results I'll have is if you take everything that I'm betting. But again, many of you guys are very sharp handicappers yourself, astute bettors, and you should have your opinion and you should trust your opinion, especially if you've proven yourself to be plus EV. So let me get you some baseball real quick. Just so you guys can get some, I'm just going to give you everything more or less. I'm just going to give you everything I got. I love you guys. Please take a second, go down, smash that like button. Please share this. Please comment. Please ask some questions. I will check tomorrow because I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you the entire card, every premium play I have today going. So here we go. Major League Baseball, 966, under 7.5. Cubs, Tampa. We went under 8 and under 7.5. Cubs, Tampa. 963, over 9. Washington, Detroit. Over 9. Washington, Detroit. And these are some sides. 966, Tampa. 966, Tampa, up to minus 105. 968, Boston. 968, Boston, even money. 956, Kansas City, plus 135. Kansas City, plus 1.5 on the run line. Split the bet in half. And then finally, first 5, 1959, White Sox, plus 120, first 5. So real quickly, under Cubs, Tampa, over Washington, Detroit, Tampa, money line, Boston, money line, Kansas City, money line, and run line, split the bet 50-50, and White Sox, first 5. Now, let me get the questions, and we could move on and shut this down because, again, very busy day. Don't forget, only on UFC Fight Pass, 6 p.m. Eastern. Ace will be live. I've destroyed that show. So I've really put in work because I have a lot to protect. I've won 4 of the 5 seasons. This is our 6th season. And so far, I've crushed it. I think I've had 1 losing episode, and we're now in June. So take that one very seriously. All right. Brian says, Brian Connolly, my man, Happy birthday, and thanks for answering my question from yesterday regarding bankroll reevaluation. If possible, please also explain when to upsize your bets. Would it be when your roll hits 1.5x? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would wait, Brian, until you increase your bankroll by 50% and give it a week. Give it a week, especially if it went straight up. Like if we all of a sudden just have a week where we have a 30% ROI and we pick up, 30 units, 40 units, and we go straight up in a line, I wouldn't adjust my bankroll yet, even if it increased by 50%, because nothing goes up in a straight line. So we expect some mean reversion. We expect some choppiness. So I would wait about a week and see, are we consolidating? Are we consolidating? And you're still betting. You're just not betting more. So if we just continue winning, you'll continue going up without adding extra risk. And then once things settle down and consolidate a little, then you could comfortably increase your bet size since your bankroll's increased. Great question. Great question. Thank you, Mark Kessler. Thank you, sir. I had an amazing day yesterday. I really want to thank you guys for helping make that happen. It was a great day. Quick question about that tip you gave out yesterday in August. Are these future contracts or ETFs? ETFs. I don't do much with options. Here's why. I do know some traders that I work with right now, and it costs a lot of money to work with good traders. That much I learned. I went to the last seminar I went to, paid $8,500 just for 4 days of a seminar. And then you had to pay for your room, you had to pay for your flights, and then all the meals. Like, it's a lot of money to learn from experts. I realized that. So I get it. I know guys that pay for picks are like, dude, this stuff costs money. Believe me, anything that's of value is going to cost you. So I don't do options trading because options are like parlays. That's how I look at them. Meaning the house is who's making the money. And when it comes to stock trading, there isn't really a house because we're trading against each other and brokerages just take a commission. But the institutions, those are moving the markets. So we could call them the house or we could call them the betting syndicates, but it's the institutions that move the markets. Once they make big buys, markets are going to move. That makes sense. When they dump, markets are going to dump as well. So when it comes to option trading, if you notice, there's a date when the option expires. And based on whether it reaches that price or not, it depends how much you make or lose. Well, institutions have the power to move the market. And they also have access to what everyone else is betting. So many, many times what they do is they will push that price to where the public gets crushed and they make money. Almost like a rigged game, because they already know the price that people need to either not get liquidated or turn a profit. And they have the power to push that price to either of those. And that's the game of options, why I don't get involved. It's a cheaper way of buying stock. I understand that, because you're not having to buy the full shares at the full price. But there's always a cost. There's always a cost. You're giving up something when you're gaining something. There's always going to be a zero-sum game. They're not going to just let you do it at a discount without some downside as well. It's not going to all be upside. The upside is you don't have to pay as much for the stock. The downside is the institutions control the market and have the power to push the price to where it costs you a lot of money. I know a lot of guys that are very smart and thought they could beat options and found out you're battling some really tough institutions. You're going against the biggest of them, and they can manipulate markets and beat us. Wondering, Tom Wazowski asks, wondering, with a percentage of bankroll player, if you have 3 plays of 3% for the day, do you use the starting bankroll total for the day, or do you use the total as it decreases as the bets are placed? Great question, Tommy. Great question, Tommy. Here's what I do. I don't expect the bet for today, or just for this week, or just for this month. I plan the bet long term. I plan to be a long-term investor in the sports betting market. So here's what I do. January 1st, I determine what my bankroll is, and I set my bet size. I do not adjust my bet size again. So the emotional part's already taken out of the equation. Whether I went 0-15 last night or 15-0, tomorrow's not going to change anything. My bet size is going to be the same. Whether I had a winning week, a losing week, a winning month, a losing month, I already know what my bet size is going to be. So the opportunity for me to chase or over bet my edge is not going to be present, because I've already determined this is what I'm sticking to. Now, we obviously want to take advantage of betting properly, so we don't want to underbet our edge either. The only thing worse than overbetting your edge is underbetting your edge, not taking full advantage. And in that case, when you've increased bankroll by 50%, let's say you start with $10,000 and it gets to August and you're like, shit, I'm at 17,000 now, 17,000. You don't have to bet as if you have a $10,000 bankroll. Bet as if you have a $15,000 bankroll now. You have 17, I get it, but go to 15. Have that 2,000 cushion. Be patient. These games ain't going nowhere. This market's not going nowhere. We're going to have action every single day. So give yourself that leeway. Go to 15. So now instead of $25 a unit, you're at $37.50 a unit. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's what I did. So take the guesswork out of it by having to constantly adjust your bet size based on what 0.25 bankroll is today. No. It's going to fluctuate daily. It's going to fluctuate daily and weekly. We don't pay attention to that noise. We're focused on the long term. And as long as our bankroll don't dip by 50%, we're good. When it increases by 50%, we have a decision to make. Simple as that. Great question, Tommy. Great question. Kyle. Hey, if I start out with 500, what's the best way to come up for bidding sizes? And what's the best way to determine the best suited to bet on? Here's what I'm going to tell you, Kyle Davis. Here's what I'm going to tell you. With $500, you're underfunded to invest in the sports betting market. I would say you want to dive in with a $1,000 minimum. So wait until you take more time. This ain't going nowhere. Games are coming every day, this week, next month, next year. We're always going to have action time. Kyle, excuse me. There's no reason to rush. Take your time. However you've saved that 500, do it one more time. Save up 500 more. Now, when you get to $1,000, here's what you do. You do the exact same thing I did. I started with 40,000. I'll tell you the truth. I didn't even have 40. I had like 30 and change, but I was making decent money. So I knew I could replenish. I could cover up to 40. So I had a $40,000 bankroll. I had 40 grand. And I bet 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, 1.25. So that's all I did. That's exactly what I did. And then now I'm at 1,000 to 5,000 instead of 100 to 500 on my bankroll. And why I say wait till 1,000, because 0.25 of 1,000 is $2.50. So that way, if it's a 2% play, you're betting what? 0.50 of 1,000. All of a sudden, you can make a $5 bet. If you even have a 4% play, a 4X, which is 1% of bankroll. Remember, 0.25 of 4% is 1%. 1% of 1,000, now you're betting $10. So you're betting between $2.50 and $12.50. And if that's not enough, then you need to increase your bankroll. You can't increase your bet size. Remember, risk of ruin. If you increase your bet size, your risk of ruin increases. And we've all been ruined. Listen, I know you've been there. I've been there. Anyone that's watching this has been there. We've all been ruined. We've all lost our bankroll. Let's be honest with ourselves. And the reason we did that is because we overbet our edge. It put us in we were betting from a position of weakness, and it made us a mathematical certainty to lose our bankroll. It was just a matter of time. We all know that. But if you stick to 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, 1.25, you will notice that you're able to survive any type of run with your $1,000. And let's say you followed exactly what I did last year, and you increased your bankroll just like we did, your starting capital by 80%. So you had $1,000. Guess what, Tommy? Kevin, I know I keep calling you Tommy. Forgive me. You made $800. Now you have 1,800. Okay. Let's say you say, I'm going to take that 300. I'm going to take my girl out. I'm going to go out. I'm going to take my mom to breakfast, whatever it is. I'm going to go buy something for myself. I'm going to entertain myself. That's fine. Do that. You worked hard all year. You made 50% on your 1,000 anyway after spending that. So spend that 300. Now you have a $1,500 bankroll, Kyle. Guess what? Now you're not betting 250 per unit. Now you're betting 375. See how that happens? Just like that. Now next year you're going 375 per unit. Now times 5, you're up to what? Near $20. Next year up to 25, 30, 40, 50. That's how it goes. Patience. Look at the top poker players. Almost all of them started at micro limits. Those are the guys that had the patience, that put in the work, that learned the game and the risk management part of it. You do that, Kyle. You save up that $1,000. You stick to $2.50. Don't pay for information. Don't buy my subscription. Don't buy anybody's subscription. Because with $1,000 bankroll, you can't afford to pay for information. You just can't. Either you have to learn how to win yourself or have a bigger bankroll where you can pay for information. I'm just keeping it real because I don't want to see you lose that $1,000. That's just the bottom line. If you only have $1,000 bankroll, you're not in a position to pay for information. That's like if I only had a $20,000 brokerage account, I have no business paying $8,000 to go to a seminar. That's half of my freaking investment account. That would be crazy. Like I would have to have, 50 times that to be willing to spend it. And that's why I always tell guys, don't buy my sub until you're properly funded and you're ready to do this for real. Because I do this for real. I've made a ton of money because I actually do bet and I manage my risk correctly. And I'm doing this for real. I wouldn't be wasting my time. So great question. Great question. Next. Marin G. Goldfrosh. Forgive me if I butcher these names. English is my second language, not an excuse, but it truly is. When I got to kindergarten, I probably knew 1-2 words. Yes, no. Like we spoke Greek in my house. Even to today, I only speak Greek to my mother. I know she doesn't know any other language. So forgive me if sometimes my language is a little off, or my English and my punctuation and my grammar and stuff like that. Forgive me for that. Okay. Now that you have signed with Wager Talk exclusively, will you be on the NFL show with Kelly and Marco like old times? I don't know. You guys make some noise. Cheer me in. Make some noise. That's on you guys. I'm open to it. I love doing it. Marco and Kelly are two of my favorite people in the world. I came up with them. We have a bond that goes back, I can't even tell you how long. And more importantly, we've all been through a lot of the same stuff. So there's that connection there. I would do anything with either of those people. I can tell you we're in the works right now. I'm talking with Kelly for a possible show in the future that I plan to do. Hopefully we'll see. Just in the talks now. But like I said, I'm a huge fan of Kelly. I love that woman. She's one of my favorite people. And for sure, I would love to work with her in the future. And like I said, me and Marco, I was his best man at his wedding. I was Marco's best man. So it tells you how far back we go. And again, you guys make noise. We'll see. But Joe also stepped in a really tough spot. Like he had a no-win situation. Like the people that missed me are going to be like, where's Ace? Where's VR? Where's Ace? If he wins, they're not going to give him the credit. Nobody ever does. Just look at my videos. When I lose, they get 1,000 views. I mean, when I win, I get 1,000 views, no likes, no retweets. When I lose, I get 500,000 views. Just go over to my Instagram. The one that I went 0-3 in MMA, got like 700,000 views. People love to see me lose for some reason. If I knew that, I probably should have started losing a long time ago. But that's just the truth there. So again, where was I? Losing my train of thought. Okay. From Jason Bumgarden. That name sounds familiar. He probably with me for a while. All right. Ace, what are the key numbers for MLB? I know you're watching Bet on it in number for football. 7, 9, and 11. Those are the three totals you want to be on the right side of because of the ties. 3-3, 5-5, 4-4, 7, 9, and 11. You want to try to get on the right side of those on the hook. So like if we go under 7 and it goes to 6.5, that's a huge number to then piggyback, which is why a lot of times when I see the groups that I work with that they're going under like 9 and then under 8.5 as well, I'm piggybacking that. Even if I didn't get the 9, I'll take the 8.5. Because 9 being such a key number, they're willing to go under 9, even though they got it. Still more money at 8.5. I'm on board. So those are the 3 key totals that you need to pay attention to in Major League Baseball. VR, you never speak on the NBA championship games. Can we get some info on that? Which at this point would be game 4. The truth is, Mitchell, I bet the series. I bet Boston in game 1. We picked up, I think, 3 or 4 units there. We have 5 units on the series. So I've just been sitting back. I actually leaned over last night. And since I like Boston, it didn't make sense for me to bet it because of the series bet. Because we were up ahead. And historically, those teams up 2-0, as I touched on a couple days ago, those teams up 2-0, it's a coin flip in game 3 of the NBA Finals. Like, historically, they haven't been at a huge disadvantage. It just makes sense. Because if you're home field, you got home court in the finals, you are the best team in the league more times than not. So that they're not at as big of a disadvantage in losing that game 3 when they're up 2-0, which is why I kind of sat back and I said Boston could this isn't one of those where we're automatically going to see Dallas get a win. No, or even a cover. So I'm glad I stayed off it, and I'm glad I even didn't touch the total because, again, I was leaning over. So right now for me, it's kind of like I sit it out unless something comes up on the total in game 4, especially right now. Where are we? We're 3-0. Yeah, those teams actually close it out on the road. It's happened 11 times where the team in the NBA Finals, where the team's gone up 3-0, the home team for the series, like Boston is. And in game 4, they're 6-5. So it's a coin flip historically. And in all the rounds, they actually close it out 6 out of 10 times. They get the sweep. So we're just sitting good, trying to pick up 5 units. I'm not trying to middle it or hedge it in any way. We made a great bet. Sit back and let it cash. And again, if something comes in on the total, I'll pass that along. But that's pretty much where we sit there. Gianni, you mentioned Stardust. Can you give a little backstory on what your experience was like at the sportsbook? Did you ever come in contact with Lefty Rosenthal? No, I never did. But I did meet and hang out with one of the guys who was arrested when they went into the Stardust and cleaned house. What happened was once they went in there and took down the Chicago crew that was running the Stardust, there were so many people connected to it. Like when you have running a skim operation like they were running, there's got to be a lot of people in on it. The guy that I knew, a Bulgarian guy, we'll call George. Well, George was their money order man. That means he used to get money orders from them and go and cash them at the window. And obviously they were fun. It was funny money. But the person at the window knew it. Georgie knew it. And then he'd get his cut and turn in the cash. So they were stealing from themselves is what they were ultimately doing. And he was one of the guys that got arrested when they rushed in. Dude, they just rushed in, feds at the Stardust, and took people out. They actually took them across the street. If you ever come to Las Vegas, the Stardust was right where right now that Hilton is, that new Hilton, that big ass casino that has the Conrad on it. And all of those Resorts World. It was right there where Resorts World. And it was that McDonald's right there. It was right next to the McDonald's. Well, right across the street was the Riviera. And next to it was the diner. You guys know that famous diner. What is that called again? The Peppermill. Well, they took out probably like 50 people, 50 plus people. And they walked them across the street and just had them sit on the sidewalk. And one by one, took their information, zip tied them, and booked them one by one. Dude, there were cocktail waitresses involved. There were dealers involved. There was management involved. There were outside people like Georgie involved. There was a lot going on with the skin. I was way after that. I was when Boyd already took over. But the Stardust had already built a reputation. So here's how it worked. Let me give you a quick story time from Ace. Okay. Here's how it worked. Back before offshore opened up, the Stardust was the center of the universe for sports betting. They brought out the opening line. They would bring out the opening number. The gentleman who was in charge of that was Joe Lupo. I believe there's a book that Chad Millman wrote covering one of the Super Bowls where he followed the odds maker, a professional bettor, and I think a recreational bettor. You guys should check it out. Beat the odds, something like that, something with the odds. It's from Chad Millman. Great book. Anyway, so Joe Lupo was the manager at the Stardust at that time. I think now he's really high up at MGM Mirage. He's probably a vice president or president by now, because he went to Atlantic City and left the Stardust once he saw that offshore was, I think he went to the Borgata, that offshore was exploding and Stardust was no longer the capital of the world. Here's what I mean. They brought out the opening line, nobody else. The Stardust would bring out the opening line, and 15 minutes later, other books would, and a lot wouldn't do it until the next day. So here's what I mean. Every Sunday, when the 8 o'clock Eastern game, the 5 p.m. Pacific game, the Sunday night game would go off at 8 p.m., at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, the Stardust would post numbers for the next week. They'd post college football for Saturday, NFL for Sunday, okay? About an hour before that happens, you would start to see all the runners, guys like myself, make their way to the Stardust, all with cash, all of us with cash and chips. So there's millions and millions of dollars sitting in that Stardust every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And here's how it would work. I was a runner. You're a runner. We're all runners for different groups. We all have the earpiece in because we can't have two-way communications. Phones were not allowed back then. No phones. All we had were beepers and two-way communicators, earpieces. Now, the way it would work is this. Joe Lupo would put out a hat. I kid you not. You would take your name, put it in the hat. He would shake up all the names, and they would have the tellers in line. So let's say there was 5, 6 tellers, ticket writers. And they would say, okay, position 1, number 1, Bobby. Teller 2, position 1, Ricky. Teller 3, position 1, Ace. Teller. So I'm in first at the third teller. So they're doing this as they're just picking out names, and we're getting in line. We're all getting in line based on when they pull out your name. Immediately at 8:30, boom, the lines go up. Right then and there, we have the opportunity to bet into the first numbers. There's not lines anywhere else. Eventually, others wanted to compete. So the Westgate, which was then the Hilton, they would bring out a line. Mirage would wait until the next day, but Bally's would bring out a line probably within 30 minutes. And what would happen is they would have so many different lines. So a lot of times we were just middling. Like they would bring out Nebraska minus 35 at the Stardust, and they would bring out Nebraska minus 39.5 at Bally's, because people didn't just copy numbers back then off the screen. For them to adjust the line, they had to wait for someone like me to go in and bet it, or else they just had that number. So all the numbers weren't the same. You could cross the street and find a whole point difference because a sharp bettor, a runner, hadn't bet into that book yet. They booked on action, not on air like they do now. So we would be in line, and you would get the place. You up the max bet $5,000, and they would move the line. And then you get out of line. You read back. I would go to the payphone, or I had a mic here. But a lot of guys that didn't, they would just go to the payphone and confirm their bets to the group they worked with, went back in, and would wait for more orders to come in. While the guys back at the office, they'd have the sheet. We'd had to read off the lines back then. Just go down 42.5. But they knew who was favored, and that's how it would work. And then you'd see the lines start to balance out. And that's when the next day, everyone else opened the line. And you would see it in the newspaper on Monday. You would see it on all the whatever sites you went to on Monday. But what most bettors never knew was that the line was so different just 10 hours ago that we already bet into it. It was only at the Stardust. And after the line had settled and we extracted pretty much all the value, then it would open up everywhere else. Such a different game back then. So thank you for taking me back there, Matthew. That's how it was. There was a lottery. It was called the Stardust Lottery. And every Sunday you put your name in a hat, and depending when they pulled it out, You got to bet into those first opening numbers before anybody else. It's crazy world. I can tell you a lot of sportsbook stories at the Stardust, bro, because I was there. That was the place I was positioned at. Luckily, I went up the food chain pretty quickly, so that was my spot when I worked with Philly Godfather. And I saw so much crazy shit there, dude. Oh, my God. You can't even imagine the shit I've seen staying at the Stardust 10, 12 hours a day. I even had my own chair where they knew there was a guy that was homeless, kind of homeless, I think. I don't know. Sometimes he'd have like, I guess he'd stay in those like monthly places, but he would reserve my little seat. He would put a taken paper like this and he would write taken on it because I think he slept there some nights or whatever. And when I went, like he would have it there. So I would always get him his breakfast, you know what I mean? Because he made sure I had my seat right there. If you guys remember where everyone went to Stardust, you knew Fat Mike. There was a big fat guy who sat in the very front seat in the front row. Well, I used to sit behind him. I sat behind him. Back then, you could have made a living just following him. He was Billy Walters' biggest mover. And because the Stardust took so much money, they didn't use it to manipulate that much because they could get down early before anybody else. So if you could have made a mid-living back then, I swear to you, I bumped into one of the guys from Philly who was just a runner for another group, and we grew up together. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, what am I doing here? What are you doing here? And we said who we're working with. Anyway, he had been there for a while. He had made so much money. He just played golf during the day and then would bet for a few hours, and that was it. So anyway, he says to me, bro, all you have to do is just bet what that guy's betting. I said, are you serious? He says, sit behind him. If you got a $10,000 with you, just bet 500 a game. You'll make a living following Fat Mike. I swear to you, you could have made a living just following Fat Mike. I don't think he knows that. It's what we called him behind his back. It was just Mike, but you guys get it. So yeah, dude, don't get me going there. It's going to be a 2-hour video if I start telling Stardust stories. Forget about it. You don't even want me to go there. I go back to Philly. Forget. We bet more in Philly than we did in Vegas. That much I could promise you. There was more action going on in Fantasy Basement than at probably the Strip back then. Okay. All right. Captain. Is Bender one of the guys you consult with daily? No. What sportsbook is the North Star for college football regular season's wins? Who do you trust? I don't know as far as trust what you mean, who I feel comfortable with my money in. I told you guys, I bet through credit accounts. I don't let my money sit in non-interest bearing accounts when I know it could be sitting in Coinbase getting 5.5% at pretty much zero risk. Because of that, I like using credit accounts, but I do have some cash in the sports books here in Las Vegas where I could get to it quickly. And even the offshore books that I work with, I deal with agents, and, you know, I have a good enough reputation that they stand for the money. So I don't post anymore. Very rarely will I post up. I mean, like I said, I have a couple accounts and I do go make some cash bets on occasion. But I'm in a position now, there's no reason for me to post and leave my money in a non-interest bearing account because of the amounts I bet. I would have to leave them a lot of money in there. And why, you know, you're going to leave 50 dimes, 100 dimes in a non-interest bearing account where I could be getting 5.5% a year just sitting there on $100,000. That's $5,500. It's $100 a week. You know, that pays one of my bills by just leaving the money in Coinbase instead of, you know, MGM. So that's why I'm now strictly credit. Love you guys. We went long today because of the questions and you guys got me off on the rant, but I hope this helps you. You're going to get it out as quickly as possible because I know there's some early games. Love you guys. Thank you again.